Good morning, YouTube. Casual Tommy on my way to work again. A quick wristwatch check. I'm wearing my lovely Seiko Skx 009, which is actually the topic of today's video. What am I going to say about the Skx? Well, I want to do a short video series on my watches, right? My collection. But I don't want to do a simple state of the collection video. I probably will down the track, but I'm not really equipped at home to do a full, smorgasbord of watches to show everybody what I have and all that. I much prefer this vlogging format. My daily drive. I like this watch actually, my daily driver. So I thought I'd do a video on each one of my watches individually and just talk maybe 2 or 3 points as to why I actually like them, what their place is in my collection, and the reason why they stick around, what makes a keeper and what makes just something to keep for a little while and then get rid of. So yeah, I thought I'd have a chat about it. I don't want to just talk about the basics of the watch. I mean, this is probably the most reviewed watch on YouTube. The details, the specs are very well known. It's not groundbreaking news to tell you that it's a 42mm Seiko with a 7S26 movement. It has 22mm lugs, which I like, and you can get them for about $300. But none of that's new, Everybody knows this. Everybody already has this watch anyway, to be fair. I'd rather talk about my experience with it and the reasons why I love it. So, we'll start. I guess I have to mention the quality of the watch. If you exclude the bracelet, which I do love personally, but if you exclude the bracelet, they're very well built watches. They don't have the refinement of a much more expensive watch, but you can tell that this thing is built to last. The bezel's not the best, but the general quality of the case and the movement, the 7S26, right? That doesn't go anywhere. I've had some 7S26s that have gone. They're 11 years old now. 11 years since I've had them, so who knows how long they sat in factory, and it's still running perfectly. Never had to get them serviced. They're just beautiful movements, really. They are the workhorse of the Seiko range. So the quality is outstanding. Something else I like about them quite a lot is that they're so easy to sell. So one of the lessons I've learned over the history of watch collecting is if it's not a keeper, if you're buying a watch just to experiment, make sure that it's a watch that there's a demand for out there, or else you're going to be stuck with a Tissot Powermatic 80 trying to sell it for 6 months for you just to make half of your money back. So I love that they're so easy to sell. There is a subset of the watch trading market dedicated to SKXs and their mods and all the different models of them. And the 009, you're hard pressed to not sell it within 24 hours. Although you're not making huge money on it, which is why they sell so easily. They are great watches to try to sell and to try to buy secondhand. I wouldn't necessarily buy one secondhand because they're so cheap brand new, less than $300 Australian, or about $300 Australian. So yeah, I guess the fact that there is really a demand out there for them, it's definitely something I love about my SKX. It feels, when you wear an SKX, you are wearing an important watch. You are wearing a watch collector's watch. And something about that is it feels so good. It does feel like an important watch to own. I think every collector should own one. I don't think you should get rid of them. I think if you're dead set on having an automatic beater, they're perfect. But yeah, you are wearing a piece of history. You're wearing a watch with over 20 years of production, still being made to this day. A few different variations out there for anybody that wants it. For anybody, whatever your desire is, there is an SKX or an SKX variant that you'll be into. But I guess my favourite thing about this watch are the conversations that we have about them. Never before have I received compliments and conversation starters like I have with an SKX. It's very bizarre, it really is. It's such a watch collector's watch, and they're so instantly recognisable. It's not like a Rolex, right? So when you see someone with a Rolex, there's a very high chance that that's just a rich guy with a nice watch. You can have conversations with people about Submariners and they're just sitting there nodding and saying yes, and they don't even know you're talking about their watch, unless you say, that Rolex. But in SKX, there's no mistaking it. You don't just happen upon an SKX, especially in this country, in Australia, because they're not distributed. Because they're not distributed by any of the main jewelers or watch companies, brick and mortar stores. For someone to own an SKX, it means that they went out and looked for an SKX. And that in itself is a conversation starter. I have worn all of my high-end watches a lot and never received the compliments or conversation pieces like I have with an SKX. Just last Friday I was having a beer with the account manager and the technical architect of quite a large company that we are signing over to. I won't talk about it because I can't actually talk about it yet. Not that you'd be interested anyway, but I was having beers with them, and one of them busts out an SKX 007. Now, obviously, us being watch guys, I noticed it on his wrist immediately, all those months ago when we first started negotiations and design work. I noticed the SKX on his wrist. I didn't say anything at the time. I think I was wearing my Zin 104 with him. The first few times where I ran into him, I was wearing the same watch. He never mentioned anything until I was wearing my Speedmaster reduced, and he said to me, he said, mate, that's a Speedmaster. I said, yep. I looked at him and said, that's an SKX. I own that watch, and bam, we took over the conversation. Absolutely took over the conversation and started discussing our SKXs and everything watches. But it all kicked off because of the SKX. It was fascinating, actually, to be fair. It was actually amazing to see it happen. That the cheapest watch in my collection, or one of, actually now it is my cheapest watch, spurred the conversation about watches and collecting. If it wasn't for this watch, if it wasn't for the SKX, not this one, it was on his wrist, we would never have had that conversation. And we then got into golf and family, and it was a fantastic experience to be having a conversation with someone that absolutely knew what they were talking about. And they were wearing an SKX. And another one recently was, I was in Wallace Bishop, jeweler, looking at Oris. I was wearing my Zin 104 again. It's my weekend watch, if you haven't noticed. So is this, actually. This is my automatic beater. And the salesman had an SKX on. So we immediately started talking about Seikos and SKXs. If it wasn't for that watch, I would have just written him off as a salesman at a jewelry store wearing some of their product. But they didn't even sell an SKX. So, yeah, I think the conversations that you have around this piece, I love getting people into watches with an SKX. I've had one friend and one work colleague both spark interest in watches while I talk about them constantly and buy them, and always, there's always something going on in the watch world that I'm obsessing over. And I've gotten 2 people their first automatic watches with SKX, with an SKX 007 and 009. Yeah, I think that's it, really. That's the format that I want to go with these videos. It's just a short video to describe why I love the watch in my collection and its place. The Seiko SKX's place in my collection is it is my automatic beater. I do have my first Seiko 5, but that is a dress piece. It does have an integrated bracelet, so I don't really want to destroy the bracelet properly. And it has a sentimental value to me. I keep it for sentimental purposes, where this bad boy is a wearer. I wear this watch. It's not my weekend grab and go. That is a quartz piece, quartz Tissot. But as far as my automatic weekender, that is pretty much this watch. It takes a beating, keeps on going. It looks good with whatever I'm wearing. It has a casual look to it, but I can also wear it with business attire and look quite appropriate. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Tell me what you like about your SKX. I know you have one. There's no doubt anybody watching this channel would have an SKX already. It's the most talked about watch on YouTube because of its quality, its history, and its price point. So please tell me why you love your SKX, or why you don't. I'd love to hear someone say why they don't. I do see a few people on the forums say, give the reasons why they don't like their SKX, but they're never really too legitimate. It's usually just going against the trend, not liking what's popular, which is very common for a lot of people. So please tell me what you like or you dislike about it. We can get the conversation going. I'll catch you in the next one.